Sometimes mistakes in the WWE are unavoidable. That being said, sometimes it seems like they are almost deliberately shooting themselves in the foot. Once you've established who the fans do and don't like, it makes sense to book your product accordingly. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? Right? Apparently, f***ing not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bothering with this list. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 10 mistakes WWE are still paying for. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10. CM Punk's ill-timed dismissal. WWE have always denied that they intentionally fired him on the morning of his nuptials, claiming that it was merely an unfortunate coincidence. Punk now appears to be consumed by bitterness, potentially killing any hope we might have of seeing him return at some point in the future. Unless he has a dramatic change of heart, they could wind up paying for this mistake for the next decade or more. Ah well, at least Vince learned his lesson and wasn't so petty after that. Oh. Number 9. Bobby Roode's low-key introduction. This time last year, Bobby Roode was one of the biggest stars on NXT, and I was a fresh-faced newcomer to What Culture. Look at us now. Jesus. He arrived on SmackDown in a totally low-key way, aside from that robe, spending weeks competing opposite jobbers before he finally got a run at the US title. Compare this to the way in which fellow NXT recruits Kevin Owens and Finn Balor were introduced to the main roster, and there is a massive difference. It's little wonder that fans have lost interest in him. They've given us absolutely no reason to care. I'm begging you, WWE. Turn him heel. Number 8. Burying Finn. WWE had their reasons for burying Finn Balor back in October. Namely, they needed Kane to be strong for a mega feud opposite Braun Strowman, which lasted just a couple of weeks before climaxing on Raw. Right, number 1, that lasted long. And number 2, did it really have to be Finn, or could it literally have been anyone else? The long-term effect on Balor's career has been pretty catastrophic. There is every chance that he could force his way back into the main event in the future, but he's probably been set back a good year by the decision to make him a sacrificial lamb for a mayoral candidate who likely won't wrestle again. You're welcome, Knox County. Number 7. Batista's return run. Another man with an axe to grind with the WWE hierarchy is Batista, who departed the company under similarly frustrating circumstances following a disappointing return 4 years ago. Batista or Bootista or Blue-tista, whatever you want to call him, was booked horribly. It's not like WWE don't have practice in how people react when superstars come back from Hollywood. The consequence of all this is, well, does this look like a man who wants to negotiate? If and when he walks through the WWE door again, he wants to do things on his own terms, and if they don't agree to them, he'll likely just pull the plug altogether. Number 6. Burying Bayley. Burying Finn Balor was pretty egregious, but at least it serves some wider purpose. Bayley's humiliation last year, on the other hand, seemed to be for absolutely nothing. Alexa Bliss, her conqueror, was already running the Monday Night Raw Women's Division, and me, that this is your life segment. Wow. Granted, Bayley is still plenty popular among the audience, but there's been a definite climb down from where she stood this time last year. She deserves a bloody hug the way WWE have treated her. Number 5. Neville in the Cruiserweight division. It's been more than 6 months since Neville walked out on WWE amid alleged creative frustrations. I wonder what they might have been. The man that gravity forgot has 1 or 2 trust issues. Don't we all? Which is perhaps understandable given that he spent the latter part of his time with the company competing in the dead-end Cruiserweight division despite being one of their most gifted stars. Virtually anyone in the same position would have thrown their toys out of the pram, and WWE could end up losing Neville altogether. But we'll still have Kalisto, guys! Number 4. CENA over RUSEV. The Bulgarian Brute debuted on the main roster in early 2014, going on to enjoy a year-long undefeated streak in which he was rightly pushed in the grand tradition of unstoppable monster heels like Yokozuna and Umaga. And then Not only did Big Match John get the better of him in their climactic encounter at WrestleMania 31, remember that tank? He went on to pick up consecutive victories at Extreme Rules and Payback. Tell you what, make sure you give that shovel back to Hunter when you finish, John. Suddenly, Rusev was no longer being spoken about in terms of being a future main event star. Instead, he started doing things like having a brief love affair with Summer Rae, that went well, and form a forgettable League of Nations stable with Sheamus and my best friend, Wade Barrett. And it's all Cena's fault. No Rusev Day cake for you. Number 3, CENA over BRAY. CENA burying Rusev was bad, but not nearly as bad as the time he buried Bray Wyatt, a man who looked set to break out as one of WWE's biggest main roster stars before running into Big Match John 4 years ago. It wasn't a total death knell for the Eater of Worlds career, admittedly. He went on to enjoy another headline feud against The Undertaker the following year and sealed his maiden WWE Championship in 2017 with victory at Elimination Chamber. Let's not mention WrestleMania 8. But the perception of him as one of the industry's perennial bridesmaids is now proving difficult to shake. He does everything right in the build-up, but consistently comes up short on the night itself, just like Jules on Tinder. Number 2, Jason Jordan is Kurt Angle's son. Seriously though, what the f*** were they thinking here? His sudden main event push feels forced and undeserved. And without getting myself in trouble, who looks more alike here? It's impossible to see how the storyline will end without seriously harming Jordan's long-term career prospects. He's either going to come out of it a Roman Reigns-style babyface, i.e. one who the fans absolutely hate, or a heel with virtually no credibility. Nice work, guys. Number 1, Roman's booking. You probably don't need me to explain this if you have, I don't know, eyes or ears, but anyway, in truth, Roman's dreadful booking is an ongoing mistake. He may not have taken the title at WrestleMania, but the mere fact he was given yet another headline bout proves WWE haven't quite learnt their lesson yet. People leave pay-per-views early when he wrestles, for Christ's sake! You wonder whether things might have turned out differently had the initial approach that followed his split from the Shield 4 years ago been more slow and steady as opposed to straight to the fucking moon. 2 of the biggest mistakes here were having him win the 2015 Royal Rumble and then the following year setting him up in a hackneyed, triumphant babyface versus the world scenario when he came up against Triple H and the Authority. People actually cheered for Triple H and the Authority. The intent here was to generate organic fan support, but it had the opposite effect. People feared that he was being groomed for the same role John Cena had occupied a decade earlier, and it led to a backlash that is almost impossible for him to overcome.
Why would you look at that? You got all the way to the end of the video and your mother said you'd amount to nothing. What are the chances? While you're here, why not watch one of our other many possibly quite good channels, or watch another video which will be largely in the same vein as the quality content you've just endured. Go on then.